Okay, so another round of upgrades for the RV here. It's high time. This RV got a new alternator. It's working on just about 20 years old now, and so that's definitely due. Also, the belt has been on there for ages. I know that the belt is definitely due, and since you've got to take the belt off the alternator, that just makes sense to do that. Also, just from experience, I know that the tensioners tend to wear out, and given that the tensioner is probably original also, went ahead and got the tensioner too. So to get all this done at the same time will save a lot of future problems for sure. So I've got the engine cover off, and I'm taking advantage of this cold rainy day to do this because I can work cleanly and dryly in here. So engine cover's off. I've got my little tester there, and I first tested and verified just the tester's working by checking the connection of the alternator right over here, and I could see then that there was voltage to that. So I then disconnected the battery and I tested it again and didn't see any voltage to that. So let's just make sure that the tester works and then make sure there's no voltage to it. Just to be safe, I'll still probably put a piece of electrical tape over that. Just don't want to short it out against something if there's if somehow voltage gets back onto it. I just don't. Given that there's house batteries and connections between the house battery and the engine batteries in this RV, just want to be extra careful about that type of thing. And I could shut off all the power to the RV, but then I'd have no lights or anything. So then I'm just going to cover that terminal when I disconnect it from the alternator.
A new place, a new home for a while. Let me feel alive. Nothing to hold me back. Take my time, just enjoy the ride. A new man passing by. Life is good, best I've ever felt. Get me up.
Alright, so the key tool to doing a serpentine belt is a breaker bar. And the nice thing is, since I have the tensioner, I can verify that there's a little notch on this tensioner that a 3/8 drive socket will fit into. Now my breaker bar is 1/2" drive, but luckily I have an adapter between the two. So I can just pop this guy onto my breaker bar, and I can go down there and I can use this to untension the belt and get the old belt off. Now, the other essential thing that I will definitely do now is to make sure I see how the belt routes all through the components on the engine, because once this belt comes off, it's going to be super hard to remember that. It's not going to make sense. I already know because I've done these before. I will get a diagram, I will take pictures, video, I'm going to figure out some way to not forget how this works. So I'm going to go investigate that right now. Now this is going to be interesting access. For the most part, you can get to the engine real easy on this vehicle, but seeing where the belt routes and accessing everything is going to be a challenge. Let's see if it's possible to get this breaker bar in here and do this. The only problem with having an adapter on the breaker bar is that its clearance is less. Breaker bar is. Having a 3/8 breaker bar would make this much easier, for sure. I think the only way this happens is from below. That's nice since it's a rainy day out there. It's not really easy to go under. Alright, so the tensioner has a bolt that bolts on right through here. So I'm going to do that also from below. At least it's not raining at this moment. And there's a lot of room under here. Welcome to the underside. So I was able to do the tensioner from here. It's actually right over here. There's the tensioner. You can see this belt is looking really rough. It's a damn good thing I decided to do this. This belt was ready to completely fail. So good timing on that. And so the tensioner, you can see the bolt right there. So I'm going to get a wrench on that and hopefully it comes right off. And maybe just pop the new one right back in there, I think. That's the plan. Okay. Old one. New one. So you just kind of shove her right back in there. This belt, she's coming off anyway. Okay, we did it. We have tensioner. Now, since our main job here is the alternator, the bottom bolt for the alternator, I believe, is right here. If I was brilliant, I think this is the bottom bolt for the alternator. I'm not entirely sure. If I was brilliant, I would have left the tensioner off and changed the alternator and have more visibility. But I'm not so brilliant, right? So now I get to change the alternator with the tensioner back in place. Okay, so working on this alternator, and I've already reached down and unbolted the bottom bolt. I'm just starting to take this one out. It's actually loose, and I'm just pulling it out. So both the top and the bottom have these two long bolts, and I've already, of course, disconnected the power, and then there's this little plug on the side which just clips into the alternator. So the only thing that I'm concerned about now is there's this kind of bracket that holds all the lines here that wraps around the alternator. I figured out not this top part of this bracket, but the whole bracket bolts on down under the alternator and down above it. So I've removed those bolts so it's loose-ish, and so I'm sure at this point that the alternator is completely disconnected and that bracket is at least loose. So I think the reason the alternator is just kind of stuck there is because one, it's freaking heavy, and the other is I think it's just kind of wedged in here. It's been in here so long. So I've actually got the hammer. I'm going to just kind of tap it out a little bit. I know I pulled the bolts out. Am I missing something? Are any other bolts anywhere? Alright, still something to figure out. I don't know what it is. I don't know why she's stuck. Okay, so I just checked every which way from Sunway to make sure that this guy really was completely disconnected, and it does seem kosher because there was a mechanic online using a pry bar to get this alternator loose. So I've this big ass pry bar here, and I can actually slowly wedge this or unwedge this alternator. Now I'm going to get my hand down there because it's liable to fall out at some point, so I'm not going to be trying to film at this angle like that, but yeah, it's loose, so that's good. Okay, never mind. I had accidentally pulled the transmission dipstick. This was the engine oil dipstick. So now this piece is completely, although it may not come out of here, it's completely loose, so I can maneuver it around however I need to get it out of the way of the alternator. The alternator is officially loose, so how is it going to make it out here? That is the question. I think the new one is heavier than the old one. They should both be the same amperage. I didn't try to upgrade the amperage on this thing because I've done that before. I did that on my boat, and what a nightmare to, you up the amperage, you have to up everything else, all the cables and everything, so it's challenging to do that. So I left this one at 145 amps, which is what it should be and will be. So who would have thought that the hardest part of the alternator job is just getting the alternator in and out of the damn RV? I think we got it. Come on. Yay! Here's hoping the new one fits in the same as the old one. I tried to get an exact OEM deal so I wouldn't have to hassle with any problems. Alright. Same thing. Fit her through. Come on. You're not different. You're the same. You fit. I know you do. Okay. So I'm prying on this thing and doing everything almost in reverse of what I did taking it out. And I got one of the bolts to line up. I'm checking to see if I can get this other bolt to line up on this alternator to make sure she's in the right place. I was able to get it from below. So I feel like we're on the home stretch now. It's just a matter of reconnecting all this stuff correctly and getting the belt, the new belt on, which is, the old belt's still hanging in there. I didn't remove the old belt because I figured leaving it kind of in place would help me remember where the new one goes when the time comes. So we'll take the old one off and the new one on right in succession. But first, get this alternator completely back. It's coming down to the end now. This thing is taking more of my day than I expected, but God, I swear I'm dyslexic with serpentine belts. I don't know why I struggle so much. So I thought I was crazy, right? I'm trying to get this stupid belt on here, but it just seemed like I had it right, but it just was way too short. So just to humor myself, I took it back off, and I'm comparing it to the old one. And as you can see, I can't even get this on the screen here. As you can see, the old one is much longer. So I'm not crazy. It really is not the right belt. Which is part of the problem with, buying a RV parts. Anyway, luckily I just purchased it down at the Napa here, so I'll bring this new one back and see if I can get a right one. Okay, so lesson learned. I think I got it this time. The old belt, the new belt, they feel exactly the same. So what I learned is that if you go and order a belt for a Workhorse chassis RV, now this is a 2005, so there's different generations, of course. But if you're ordering a belt for this generation of Workhorse RV, and I guess it'd be specific to this engine, this is 8.1 liter. Everything that's spec'd for in computers is wrong. What I found out is that this belt is 108 inches, and all the computer systems will tell you that it's 98 inches. So if you go and order one online, or you go to any sort of shop that can, look up this chassis or look it up on, look it up yourself, you're always going to get 98 inches. The reality is you're always going to find that the ones for sale are 98 inches, but you have to go and get 108. So I went down to the Napa that's right down around the corner from here, and I asked the guy, I said, okay, now that we figured out that the belt is actually 108, how long for you to get one? He said, oh, I can have it in the morning. He just punches in 100, the size, and they can deliver it the next day. So yeah, that's awesome. So now I'm going to jump in here. Hopefully not spend 2 hours with my dyslexic problems trying to get it on. I think I've kind of got a system for how this goes on now. Okay, so this is for sure I've got this belt process done. So you do drop the belt in from the top. You do not wrap anything around the fan. You just drop it straight in from the top, route it around the alternator and the air conditioner pump, and then just push the rest of it down there. And I got to go under the RV to grab the bottom half of it. But then what it'll do is the underside, the inside of the belt, will end up being wrapped around the fan, so you don't, and then tensioned that way, and so then you don't actually have to put anything around the fan. That's why I was going crazy, because I kept thinking you had to wrap the belt around the fan. So anyway, that do it that way. It's easy. So I'm going to go under right now, wrap the bottom up. Then I'll have the tensioner also on this. I can only really use from the bottom, so I go down with the tensioner. I should be able to do everything from the bottom. We're going to find out right now. Here I go. Man, I'll tell you what, that 108-inch belt, I just cannot get it to slip on. I got to think the actual functional size is probably 108 and a half or something like that. It's just, it's that close, but I got the tensioner pulled all the way, and I just cannot slip it over. And I figured out that the best place to try to pull it on is between the alternator and the air conditioner. There's a little just wheel, and it's smooth, so you don't need to get over any ribs or anything. And so that's the spot I'm working on. And man, it's just right there, but there's no way to actually get it on. So I tried and tried and tried. So I'm going to go back down to Napa and say, hey, what's the next size up? And see what it is in his computer and try the next one up, I think. And because that's what It's my best guess at this point. We'll figure it out. And then when I know, I'll let you guys know.
My way, 'cause I found my way, my